Storyteller Fiery Eyes, Episode 4. When Henry watches the news on television, he can see the crime occurring on the television screen at the same time. The footage literally shows Henry the crime in progress. The faces are hazy, but he can see a lot of details. He decides to tell Eva about the strange occurrence. Was it a type of power he now possessed? Eva, I've been watching the news with you in the evenings, but something weird has been happening, said Henry. Is the news making you feel depressed? Most of the news they show nowadays is depressing, says Eva with concern, which is why I've told you not to watch the news. Your mind needs time to heal, and watching all these disturbing news reports is not going to help in your recovery. No, Eva, my mind is fine. I've been watching the crimes in progress while the news is going on. The scene which I see is in negative form and keeps repeating. It seems to be a recording of the event which is trapped in the air and keeps repeating it, like a tape which has got jammed in an old tape recorder. The scene returns to the beginning, plays to the end, and then there's a rerun again of the event. However, as the images are hazy, maybe I'll be able to see more once I get used to using this skill. That's a great ability to have. It is better that you don't tell anyone about it, or they could think that you were involved in the crimes. With all these crimes happening in our neighborhood, it's hard to trust anyone. I know this is a great ability, but it can be a curse as well, I guess, says Henry, not sure whether he should be happy or sad about this new skill which he has discovered. Henry visits the small marketplace to do his shopping. Henry's buying fruits when a small group of young men walk up to the stall and take apples, oranges, bananas, and walk away without paying. There is suddenly a skirmish in the square, and he hears a quarrel in progress. A group of young men and the stall owner of fruits get into an argument. Excuse me, young men, says Henry. You all need to pay for the fruits. Are you the owner of this stall? Asks the leader of the group, a young man with brown curly hair who stands tall at about 6 feet. I'm the owner of the stall, and I just want them to pay for the fruits they have taken, said the owner of the stall, an elderly gentleman, as he stands watching, nervous and afraid. He knew what these ruffians were like. He had allowed them to take the fruits without objecting before, as did most of the vendors in the marketplace. Bob, let's go, said one of the younger men in the group. No, this guy needs to be taught a lesson, that he can't interfere with us or stop us from taking what we want. This is, after all, our neighborhood, said the leader of the group. Bob was not going to go without punching this loud-mouthed man who had the audacity to ask him to pay. Bob started to punch Henry, and though Henry tried to deflect the blows, he was no match for this tall, strapping young man. Henry falls to the floor. His face is cut and his arm is bleeding. The youth next hits Henry over the head, and he falls onto the dusty road unconscious. The shopkeepers call for the ambulance and the police. He is badly injured in the fight and has to be taken to the hospital. The police arrive and ask for witnesses to the crime. However, no one is prepared to say that they saw anything happen due to the repercussions it could have on them and their families. Henry is unconscious for 10 days and he is attended to in the hospital. Eva visits him every day, but he does not know that she is there. Henry is in a comatose state in the hospital bed, but Henry is not asleep. His mind is in a state of high activity. He gets flashbacks of his past. I have entered a sort of dream world. I can see images from my past, the present, and the future. I see dragons, I see angels, I see demons, I see fantastic creatures. I see flying carpets, magicians, lanterns, secret manuscripts. I see the landscape of story come alive before my eyes. I also see a man who seems to control all the stories around him. The stories seem to come alive when he narrates the stories. This man seems familiar to me. Perhaps I had met him before. Who are you? Asks Henry. I'm the storyteller, says the mysterious man. Every character, every scene, every plot, and every storyline of the story seems to be created, developed, manipulated, then recreated into moving stories of power, plays across universes of time and space. The storyteller sees Henry standing at the edge of a precipice of a stormy mountain. There are fierce gales blowing all around. The winds seem to want to throw Henry off the precipice into the gaping and bottomless chasm before him. The storyteller stands across from where Henry is. He looks unperturbed by what is happening around him. He seems to be so confident. The storyteller, a man of medium build with a narrow face and short hair, dressed in a blue suit and wearing a cape of dark blue, looks calmly at Henry. Don't worry, whatever you see around you is all part of the story which you have created. How did I create the story? Asks Henry, puzzled. You have undergone an experience in your life which has resulted in the creation of this story. Can you change the story? Asks Henry. I can change this story and so change the outcome, says the mysterious storyteller. Change the story. I think I want to live in another story, shouts Henry, above the noise of the winds which have increased in sound and ferocity. You must change the story by creating another story. Close your eyes and see yourself in another story, says the mysterious storyteller. Henry closes his eyes and tries to see himself in another story. However, he cannot believe that wishing he was in another story would change the outcome of this story. Henry can feel the force of the winds on his face, and his body is getting cold in the freezing gales. Henry shuts his eyes for a brief instant, and then he opens them again. To his horror, he is lifted off the edge of the precipice by the cold, icy fingers of the winds and swept into the air. It is then a non-stop drop into the dark chasm which lies below him. He screams in horror as he continues to fall deeper and deeper into the bottomless pit as the howling winds rush past his frozen face and ears. I look down on the hospital bed and notice the drawings which I have scrawled, and I understand them now. These are all the symbols of story. These are all the tools which every storyteller needs. I recognize the shapes on the sheets of paper, and it all makes sense to me now. These were not random drawings. They were my weapons and implements of story. But I must meet my mentor to get trained in the art of using this arsenal to create and control my stories. These are the weapons, tools, and symbols of the storyteller. I need to find out what happened to me and to get onto the path to fulfill my destiny. I now remember my name. My name is William Blade. I am a storyteller, or I used to be a storyteller in another world, the world from which I have come. How is it that I do not have any powers in this world? The staff at the hospital and the doctor attending the now awakened patient are very excited that he made it out of the coma alive. They inform Eva, who immediately comes over to the hospital that evening. William is so excited to tell Eva the news when she comes to visit him. Henry, I'm so happy to hear that you're now back with us. The doctor is really happy for you, says Eva. My name is William Blade, and it seems that I'm a storyteller. That's exciting, says Eva. What tall tale do you have to tell me today? I had this sort of dream, or maybe it was actually more like a nightmare. And in it I met a man who could create stories and change any story at will. He said that he was a storyteller with the ability to control stories. I'll start calling you William from now on. Or would you prefer Will? Said Eva. William is fine. The doctor has informed me that you will be able to leave the hospital in 2 days, as they still need to monitor your progress, said Eva. I'm feeling much stronger now, though my mind is just getting used to the idea of my new identity. Maybe more of my past memories will start coming back to me. Yes, Dr. Victor informed me that you should start remembering in a few months' time. You will need to visit the hospital regularly till they are sure that you're better. I'm so happy to know that you can come back home soon, Henry. I mean, William. I guess it will take some time for me to get used to calling you William, said Eva. Yes, it does feel familiar to me now that I know that I'm a William and not a Henry. I quite like the vibe of William. After Eva leaves the hospital that night, William drops off to sleep. William is having a dream where he can see himself being chased by formless creatures of the night. They fly behind him. They crawl behind him. He sees small, tiny insects enlarging in size and becoming the size of a man's face. Some of the creatures change in appearance and transform into more ghoulish forms. William is afraid at all these creatures torturing him as he walks through the memories of his dreams. He dreams about the past in countries in Europe, in Spain, in France, in London, and even in places in the Far East like Thailand and India. William starts to have vivid dreams of murders taking place in front of him. He sees the killings happening through the eyes of the killer. He sees the killings taking place through the eyes of the victims. He is both the slayer and the slain in these stories which occur in his nightmares. He hears a voice calling out to him, and he gets a strange smell going up his nostrils, a strange and unfamiliar odor, the odor and smell of danger. William, William, there is danger close to you. Wake up from your slumber. Danger is approaching. Wake up, William, wake up, says a cautious voice in his mind. He suddenly awakes from sleep, and he gets the scent of a strange perfume in the room. The door opens, the light is switched on, and a nurse enters the hospital room. She smiles and puts a tray of unappetizing food on a small table beside his bed. There seems to be something different about this nurse, thinks William to himself. He can see the nurse, and it is Olivia, Eva's friendly neighbor. Yet he can see another form within the body of the possessed woman. It looks like a pink creature made out of smoke, and it looks evil. He also notices the symbol of an octopus on Olivia's left wrist. The nurse Olivia suddenly takes out a syringe with a green liquid in it and goes to stab William in the heart with a long pointed needle.